We are only 3 weeks away from the college football transfer portal opening back up for the spring semester, and Nebraska is expected to be very aggressive once again, trying to fill some of their lingering holes on the team. So in today's video, I'm going to go over the top 5 biggest needs for the Huskers going into this period. What players do they need to target? What positions do they need to go after? What's their acquisition strategy going to be? And everything else you need to know. So really quick, this is going to be a loaded transfer portal video. You're going to want to watch the entire thing. Hit that like button if you're fired up. And also, hey, if you support what I'm doing here, daily Husker football content, it would make my day. Please hit that subscribe button. Once again, it helps me out so much. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much. I'm appreciative of all of you. But without further ado, let's get into it, talking about the transfer portal opening back up officially on April 15th. That is the spring deadline for a lot of these guys to jump ship, go to a new program. And Matt Rhule has said in the past that he's not a big fan of the spring portal opening. He'd rather only have it in the winter, but he's also said that as long as it's in place, he's going to take advantage. He's going to continue to be aggressive, and he's going to take some much needed players if they want to come here. You know, we saw last year, he took Sia Wright, he took Mac Markway in the fall, Vince Genatone, David Hopkin, Makai Nelson. You know, those are just player acquisitions in general, but you know, Matt Rhule, he's going to be aggressive once again this spring, trying to add some new names, some positions of need. So let's get things started. Talking about the first biggest position of need that I absolutely expect Nebraska to go after. You probably already know what this is, and this is the running back room. However, I think a lot of people, they don't know exactly what Nebraska needs in the running back room. I think there's been an overall perception that we need this big bruising power back that Dante Dowdell was, and we don't really have right now. We need this power back who can truck over guys, who can lay the wood, stiff arm guys. And in my opinion, when evaluating this Dana Holgorsen offense, we don't really need that. We don't need this big power back. What we need is a short yardage back, a guy where it's 3rd down and 2, it's 3rd down and 1. You give them the football and it's automatic first down because they're smart. They're not necessarily the most athletically gifted running back in the world, but they're a guy who can push the pile, who can quickly move his feet, find the gap, the A gap, the B gap, and shoot through it to get a couple yards. And again, to convert the change. That's what Nebraska desperately needs right now. And they also need a running back who can catch passes out of the backfield and can block at a high level. Credit to Emmett Johnson. I think he can catch passes, but one of the only things that I do not like about Emmett Johnson's game, and the staff doesn't like, is he can't block. He can't block in the pass pro. That's why he wasn't on the field as much as he should have been last year. We desperately need him on the team right now. And there's 2 guys already in the portal who have already, talked about. TJ Harden out of UCLA. He had 500 rushing yards last year for the Bruins, 400 receiving yards. I mean, he was just a baller. He had a great game against us. He's a great blocker. He's an all-purpose back. So I love TJ Harden. And then there's another guy who we already talked about out of Wyoming, Harrison Whaley, who just entered, who has 3,000 career rushing yards, 1 year left. He's kind of a big bruiser back too, but he's a guy who can also run really, really fast. One of the faster running backs in his conference. So we just need a short yardage back. It'll be interesting to see what happens in spring ball. Again, if Quinn Ives balls out, or if, let's say, Makai Nelson or Jamarion Parker plays really well, then we don't necessarily need a running back, but I don't expect that to happen. I think we're going to need one going into the year, because at the end of the day, if Emmett Johnson goes down, you just don't feel comfortable with the room as it is. We need probably another name in that room. Then going on to the second position of need for the Huskers, we're going to stick with the offense. I think Nebraska actually needs another offensive lineman just to add to this room, because right now there's a lot of question marks. Okay, you don't know what the status of Teddy Prohaska and Turner Corcoran is, right? They're both coming off of injuries. Who says they even want to stick around? Those guys might enter the transfer portal because they're not guaranteed to start. I don't think they're going to start going to next year. Why would they want to stay on the bench for their last years of eligibility? So they're completely question marks. You have, question marks around some of your starters, like Elijah Pritchett, who's expected to be our left tackle. That's what the staff wants him to be. If he's not that good, you're in a really bad situation. You don't have a lot of depth there at tackle, and you never know what's going to happen with injuries. Nebraska's always had bad injury luck. So I think we absolutely need another offensive lineman. Now, we're going to be very particular. We're not going to take another offensive lineman just to take one. But in my opinion, we desperately need a swing tackle, a guy who can play left tackle, right tackle. You might feel comfortable kicking him into guard. That's what you need from the portal. They didn't really get that the first time around. Elijah Pritchett, he's kind of he is a swing tackle, but not one off the bench. You need one off the bench, especially with just all the question marks right now. And at the end of the day, you can never have enough offensive linemen. We need to keep adding competition in that room to make it as good as possible. Going on to our third need, I think this is a must-have in the portal for the spring semester. it's a situational pass rusher, especially as a 3-technique defensive end. Not a jack, but a defensive end who specializes at getting to the quarterback. Because right now, we do not have that on the roster. Okay, Cameron Ledhart is a run-stopping D-end. Riley Van Poppel is a run-stopping nose tackle or D-end. Keona Davis, he can get to the quarterback, but he's better at run-stopping. That's a common theme around this entire D-line. It's a run-stopping D-line. There's not necessarily a guy who's just a threat to get to the quarterback, out of the D-ends or the nose tackles. We desperately need a situational pass rusher who you can plug in at that 3-technique spot on a 3rd down and feel comfortable, hey, you're going to go get to the quarterback. We're not going to play this guy on 1st down or 2nd down. He's going to be, again, just a primary pass rusher. We haven't had that in a very long time at Nebraska because our defensive line hasn't been very good. If you look around some of the best programs in America, again, they have these situational pass rushers that they only plug in on certain downs because they're just that much of a weapon, getting to the quarterback and just about that. So we need that. We don't have that right now on our D-line. That's the big con of this D-line. It just can't get to the quarterback very well, in my opinion, outside of just Amakola, who plays jack. You need to add one, in my opinion, in the portal. Doesn't have to be a doesn't have to be a starter, but just a guy with high upside who's young, who's athletic, and get to the quarterback at that DN 3-technique spot. 2 other positions I think Nebraska needs to consider getting in the portal. Middle linebacker is something that I think is very intriguing for the Big Red. Now, you feel good about basically 3 or 4 players there. Vincent Shavers, Marcus Watson-Trent, and Buda Wright coming back. You feel great about those guys. But there's some depth concerns. I think that, middle linebacker, we might lose a couple guys in the portal. I really do. You look at a guy like, Dylan Rogers. If Dylan Rogers doesn't love where he stands on the depth chart, he might leave. He's going to his 3rd year. Gage Stanger's another one of those guys. He's a veteran linebacker. Of all the positions, I think that linebacker might be gutted in the portal. And for that reason, you lose a couple guys, you probably got to add one. So in my opinion, what we need from the portal is a middle linebacker who is very athletic, who's very young, is not expected to come here and play right away. That's not what I want, but I want a guy who can kind of take a red shirt, who can sit for a year, learn under some of these guys, and they can pay and go in and start next year and get significant reps when Marcus Watson-Trent and Buda Wright leaves. So that's what we desperately need. I just don't love this middle depth as it is. It's not, a huge need. I wouldn't be mad if they didn't get one, but in a perfect world, if you can get a guy at that middle linebacker spot who's just really, really athletic, who has that high upside, I think you pretty much need to take him as a depth piece and a guy who you're going to have, in your core in the coming years. And then one last position that I think Nebraska just needs to keep their eyes open to consider is a kicker. I think they really, really need to look and see, hey, maybe we need to add another kicker. Now, right now, you have 3 on the roster. You have John Hull. You feel good about him. Nico Otto-Manelli going to his 2nd year. You feel okay about him. And you have Tristan Alvano. Again, I'm at the point where I've kind of given up on Tristan Alvano. Okay, he has this lingering groin injury that never goes away. And at some point, the way that the NFL works is they give up on kickers very quickly. If you don't got it in the NFL, you're never going to have it, and they get rid of you. Okay, it's always, what have you done for me lately? Cultural programs operate the exact same way. Kickers don't develop. Like, if you're a 4th-year kicker and you've never done anything, you're just never, ever going to do anything. So at this point, I hate to do it, but I think Tristan Alvano, I just don't know why he's still around. Okay. And in my opinion, I'd rather say, hey, Tristan, we love you. Go get an opportunity elsewhere. We're going to go and see if we can get another kicker to kind of add to this room, to add some competition there. Not necessarily the kicker is going to come in here and start, but just add competition and again, have some more experienced legs. Because, again, why not? Our special teams has been so bad over the last couple of years. We can't settle with the kicker room as it is. You got to continue to add on talent and try to find this stud kicker that we just haven't had. Like John Hull, I expect him to be good. I don't expect John Hull to be great. Okay, he missed a couple kicks last year where he had a great snap. Okay, most notably that Iowa game that arguably lost the football game, but nobody talks about that. So John Hull's good. I don't expect him to be great. I want to find a great kicker in the portal. That would be a big benefit, and I think Mike Eckler does too. So I want to keep my eyes out for that. Just a stud kicker who might find his way in the portal. You never know. But those are really the 5 positions that I want Nebraska to go after. Running back, offensive line, ideally a swing tackle, pass rusher, the DN spot, middle linebacker depth, and then a kicker. You feel good about quarterback, obviously. You feel good about wide receiver. Tight end is interesting. I think you might lose 1 or 2 guys there in the tight end room, but I don't think it's that big of a concern to get a guy in the portal. Obviously, Jack's fine. I think DB's really, really fine. You were aggressive there in the first place coming out of winter. So those are my 5 positions that I want Nebraska to go after. Let me know your thoughts down below. What is your biggest need going into the portal in the spring period? I absolutely want to hear if you have to say. Hey, if you made this far in the video, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe. I'm so appreciative of all of you guys and supporting me all off season long. Thank you guys so much. And as always, folks, go big or head. Go Matt Rhule. See you in the next one.